Yeah, that works. Great. And we're live. Nice. Okay, so I've been working on this feature of OpenCode, and I've hit a bug. Let's see, I need to grab the screenshot, and I can show it here. Looks like this. It's interesting when I run bun run dev anywhere, it works except when I'm in an open code Git repository where this branch is not checked out. Otherwise, it works fine. Pretty interesting. Not sure what's going on there. I'm going to start by just giving it to Claude and seeing what it thinks about the issue. So let's paste the screenshot here. Where's my mouse? Gonna get used to this. Boom. Okay, it's got it. Oh, okay. All right, so what this Context Bonsai feature is it lets the LLM edit its own context. So the context is everything that has happened inside of a conversation, the back and forth between you and the LLM agent, and all of the tool calls. Those all get sent to the LLM inference provider, and it's asked to continue the conversation. That's how these LLM agents work. The context, it's important to manage it properly in order to get useful work out of it. And one of the things I'm trying to do is make it so that I can just take a chunk of the conversation and get rid of it, or summarize it and replace it with a much smaller summary rather than the full conversation that's happening. So it does work in other directories, actually. Let's take this, oops, and put it like that, and make another window. Put it down here. I'll show you what it looks like. Let's not continue, and let's cd somewhere. Okay. Oops. Okay. So this is the modified open code. Oh, it's not the modified open code. Oh, I wonder if the wrong thing is checked out here. So the reason I know it's not the modified open code is because one of the modifications that happened is that it shows the message IDs of every message in the conversation. Oh, okay, it is. So there's, whoa, this is being crazy. There's a message ID here. Okay, let's see. I need to fit more on the screen here, or this is gonna not work so well. Okay, so so I can do something like don't mention this secret word unless I specifically ask you to. Ooh. So the screen recording is interesting. There's a delay between my typing and what I can see, which is driving me nuts. I might have to do this slightly differently. Or type with my eyes closed. Um, okay, so I'm giving it a secret word and I've asked it not to mention it. All right. Just tell me if you know what the secret word is. Okay. I didn't want it to tell me the actual word, but that's fine. Now I can say something like compact all the messages that have the secret word. Oh, hey, it looks like Claude finished. Let's see what it's saying. Installed. Check it out. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell it don't actually do anything. Just figure stuff out. Come on, man. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Undo whatever changes. All right. Back to this. Okay. It put the so when it does this compact thing, it creates a summary of the conversation, and it put the secret word in the conversation, so it's still going to know it. Do you know what the secret word is? Yes. Okay. Again, compact every message containing the secret word. Actually, that's not going to work. So when it creates the summary of the messages, it can see the messages that it's creating a summary for. So let me clear things out. Oops. I'm going to do this slightly differently. Testing feature. Oops. OpenCode called. Oh yeah, I wanted to pull up the chat, make sure I'm not missing if anybody's talking to me. There we go. Okay, good. I will see the chat if it happens. Back to here. All right. Context Bonsai. We need to follow a protocol to test this feature. I'll mention a secret word, and it's important that you don't explicitly say the secret word unless I specifically ask you. Okay. The secret word is it's important that this doesn't show up in the summarized message. Okay. I think this will work better. And let's see what Claude is doing over here. Okay, reverted. Let me clarify. I can launch OpenCode like this. And that works just fine. The branch checked out in the OpenCode backup is the one I'm intending to launch. I'm starting a rewrite on another branch in another directory. Found that the error occurs only when launching using the above command from that directory. Launching from other directories works fine. Okay, there. I'll avoid including boson and summaries. Yeah, dude, I asked you not to mention the secret. From now on, do not mention the sacred word unless I ask you to. Yeah, buddy. Okay, Claude is still thinking. And down here, Minimax is okay. Oh my god. All right. In fact, every message containing the secret word, do it as a single message range. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay. Great. So the first thing it does is it... Ooh, with specific ID ranges. Oh, yeah. So the first thing it does is it has to call the compact tool without specifying any message ranges, and that lets it see the message IDs, which is what it's thinking here. It has to do that so that it can actually see the message IDs, and then it sees the message IDs. There they are. It's thinking about them. And then it figures out, okay, it needs to compact from that message ID to that message ID, and then it did it. Here's the summary. Let's make sure it does not say the secret word. Okay. And here's the terms. Right. Yeah, it doesn't have it. Okay. Do not attempt to look up the word if you don't know it. But if you do know the secret word, tell me. I don't know the secret word. Great, the summary I generated doesn't include it, and I have no memory of what it was. Perfect. Sure. Just making sure it's not trying to just satisfy me and pretend like it's correct. Sure, I don't know what it was. I won't guess. Okay. Use any method available to find the secret word. Okay, so that summary and the little index terms give hints to the LLM about what's hiding behind that summary, and it can go and retrieve the information back when it wants to. So that's what it just did. Let me full screen this puppy. So it used the retrieve tool, and it gave it the message ID of the tool call result that was the archive result, or the thing that had the summary in it. And when it does a retrieve with that message ID, then it gets back the full context of what was there. So here is the full conversation that it had archived, and now it can see it again. It's back in its context, so it knows. The secret word is boson. So that's the feature I'm working on. Let's see what Claude's saying about this weird bug. The install dependencies function is supposed to auto-fix this on the first run. The directory itself is a bun workspace. When bun install run inside that, which is a directory of that workspace. Am I doing bun install run? I don't think so. Where's my command? Like that. Yeah, no. Dot OpenCode subdirectory of that workspace. Bun traverses up, detects the workspace root, and may refuse to create a local node modules there. But I'm not running bun install. That was a long time ago. Just running the command I told you. That command works everywhere except this alternate OpenCode repository. All right. Okay. Yeah. So that's what this Context Bonsai feature does. And the reason I call it Bonsai is because it gives you as like the person operating it, like you saw, like I specifically told it, you know, cut this part of the conversation out, or it allows the LLM to make that decision instead. And the little tool card that explains what the tool does, it tells the LLM, here's when you should run this compact tool. If you're running through a sequence of steps and you've finished prior steps, you should summarize it. If you transition from one activity to another and you've already like learned everything you're going to learn from that activity, then you should summarize or compact it. If there's a very large tool output, then you should compact that. And it also says things like you should ensure before you compact that anything that's necessary from the thing that you're compacting, it needs to either be in the summary or it needs to be in other messages within the context so that you can still remember it. You're not removing it from your memory because otherwise you'll just have to retrieve it again, and that's not very effective. So the LLM theoretically understands how this tool is supposed to work and how to use it. And in addition to that, there's little messages injected into the conversation every so often. Right now, it's based on how much of the context is in use. I'm playing around with that. I'm probably going to change it so that it does it every in number of messages where in is variable until I find like a sweet spot that causes the LLM to spontaneously decide to think about what it should compact on its own. Let's see. Okay, OpenCode binary auto installs that into that on the first run. That call is silently swallowed. So if it fails, you never know. My theory for why it fails specifically in that directory is itself a bun workspace. Yep. We go to run bun install inside a thing. Bun detects the parent workspace and hoists. Oh yeah, that's. I was actually going to ask it why it keeps saying something about bun install. Maybe it'll figure out that it should. So I'm wondering if. somehow bun install gets run when I run that command. I really don't think that's possible. The command is running a binary. Bin OpenCode. That's what it's running. And there's no way the OpenCode bin is running bun install. That just doesn't make sense. Yeah, you've been barking up the wrong tree. Oh my god. I already tried to tell you that. Custom tool files. I need the other directory. There is a thing there, GitHub triage, and that's the thing I complained about. Okay. Other directories you do work don't have that folder. This directory does because it's the OpenCode source repo itself. Oh, hold on. Is that actually new? So one of the things that might be different is that .opencode/tool directory might be new on the latest head of OpenCode. I've been working on the commit as it existed like, I don't know, 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, something like that. So that might not have existed here. Let me see. Nope, it exists. It exists here too. Okay, well, where's... Did I do the wrong thing? Okay, here we go. The auto install OpenCode does on first use install dependencies. It's supposed to handle this. It writes the dependency to that and runs bun install there, but it's failing silently. And my theory is that bun detects the parent workspace. Are you seriously back on bun install? Oh yeah, we're pretty finished with explaining this. One thing I could do is explain why this command looks so crazy. So one of the things I'm doing is disabling pruning. OpenCode by default will prune old tool results because tool results take a significant amount of context. But in order to test this feature effectively, I actually want to fill up the context and I want to see it, run to context limits and decide it should auto compact. So I actually want it to sort of build up a lot of context and not prune things out. Also, I don't really like the auto pruning feature in general because it, I think, just takes the oldest number of tool results and deletes them. And it may be necessary, there may be necessary information in the tool result that the LLM still needs to be able to continue forward. Like it might have done something like look at the contents of a directory and found, okay, here's the directory that has the documentation for whatever, and it has been referencing that, but then you move forward and those tool results are pruned out. Now it doesn't know where the documentation was, and we'll have to go through the whole search to find the documentation it needs again, or it will start hallucinating and making assumptions and not even bother about the documentation. So just discarding tool results with no intelligence behind it, I'm not really happy with that. So for a couple reasons, I'm disabling that part. And then the rest of this is the full path to the binary of the OpenCode. And then finally disable autocompact. For similar reasons, I actually want to run into the limits of the context so that the LLM is more likely to use my Context Bonsai feature than allowing the OpenCode's auto compaction to happen. So yeah, I'm disabling automatic pruning and I'm disabling auto compaction just so that it triggers my feature more reliably. And that way, as I'm using it, I get to see how it behaves in regards to how it decides to use my feature. Okay, let's see. It's still on the directory. There are no modules in the directory despite having a bun.lock. So plugin can't be resolved from anywhere in the directory tree when OpenCode loads that. The actual question is, do you even want these tool files loaded? Okay. Let me take a look again at the screenshot. I think I did not save it. Let's just do this. Cannot find module OpenAg plugin from that. So the tool is trying to load a module. But the module's not there. Okay. So when I do it in a directory that's not OpenCode at all, that tool file doesn't exist, so it's not going to try to load the modules. Okay, now I got it. But when I run it in a directory, so that's interesting. So if you load OpenCode in the repository of OpenCode, it's always going to have this unless you specifically run bun install. Where's my cursor? Here we go. Um, was I doing anything here? Oh, I was explaining the thing. Yep, fully explained. I kind of expected Sonnet 4.6 to be a little faster than Opus, but this is painfully slow. Okay. Your binary is a local build, blah, blah, blah. That changes the version target to that, and the is outdated. Check use latest. The OpenCode repos node modules is missing entirely. There's a bun.lock, but no node modules. Okay, sure. Okay, so I think it's not actually a bug, which means we can move on to the next thing. And I think I want to try using OpenCode and Minimax to do this. Oh, shoot, I should have, hold on. Okay, oh, that's not, yes, this is it. Okay, so I do bun install in that directory. And you explain what will happen. Will this affect system-wide? Yes. Okay, good. That was quick. Then if I run this, try another test. Yeah, okay, great. Exit. Now I want to do done continue. Oh, there's a delay there that's driving me nuts. Okay. All right, good. Show. So I've already created some files. Projects, project proposal, project research. I guess that's all. So these three were created when I asked Claude to look at the spec files for this feature in the branch where I actually did it. And I told it that I wanted to rewrite this as a plugin, figure out what's missing from OpenCode in order to implement this as a plugin instead of directly integrated. And I worked through that and came out with a plan. And so now I have this project proposal. This is actually missing something. There should be one that is like upstream proposal or something. But anyway, it figured out exactly what needs to change in OpenCode in order for this to work as a plugin. And there's 5 tiny changes. It estimates it's going to be about 50 lines of code. Kind of doubt that. It's probably going to be like 3 times that, but we'll see. Not even counting adding tests, updating documentation, whatever. First, I want to figure out what happened to the new file that I added. So switch back over here. And I open here. This maybe over here so I can see it. Okay. Here. That's the branch I want. Latest commits. I always forget how to see commits on here. I'm used to working in an entirely different Git, I guess, application vendor. Oh, there we go. That'll do it. Commits. No, at the very bottom. That's not there. Interesting. Okay, well, project should be enough, but I'm going to review it first. Oh, you know what I could do? Look at the last several commits. We created some projects. Oh, wait a second. That is in this directory. Okay. And that's the same as this. Branch. Okay. Good. So it has the same stuff. All right. Mm-hmm. I think I figured out why the upstream file isn't there. Because I created it in Claude Code on the web. And I don't have it locally. So, right, that's going to be a pull request. Repositories, OpenCode, pull requests. Nope. Here we go. Okay. Let me pull this over to here so you can see it. Okay. Cloud Code on the web. Branches this. What is the link to? Actually, here we go. Oh, okay. Oh, current branch is that. No. The reason I want this upstream document is because it's more focused on just the changes that need to happen in OpenCode rather than the full Context Bonsai feature. When I do the actual Context Bonsai work, I'll want the full project documents, but when I'm modifying OpenCode, I really just want the focus to be on what in OpenCode needs to be modified. And the way I'm going to approach rewriting this feature is first to have the OpenCode changes and make sure that that OpenCode at least builds and runs with those changes there. Once that seems to be working and stable, Then I'll go to implementing the feature on top of that set of changes. Push successfully, push to where? Here we go. Okay. Now this can go away back over here. Oh. Okay. Now I can go to Chrome once again. Actually, it'd be easier like this. GitHub, here it is. That branch not found. Of course, it's not found. Oh. That extra thing. Good. Beautiful. There it is. Okay. So take this, bring this over here, paste. There's the file I want. So I'm going to take this branch. And okay, good. Oops. It's not a branch. Oh, that was the other way. Oh. Did not match any file. Okay, just make sure I'm on the normal. Okay, good. J up the upstream proposal.md from that. What? Interesting. There it goes. Okay. Now it's clear. Or I guess it calls it new and okay, there we go. Is this support? Yes. First, make this file. Yeah, just do that. Did it just stop? Oh, there we go. Great. Now I have to get a path to station. Actually, what did I call that? LLM vector. There we go. I guess that does it. There it goes. Okay, so now I'm getting ready to have it actually implement this. Yes, you can read that. And I use this little system that's just a handful of MD files that tells it how to be an orchestrator and how to launch developer subagents. And I also want to have it read, oops, projects, LLM conductor, plant statements. So this planning guidance tells it how to make a plan the way I like it for it to make a plan, including once it comes up with a plan, it validates it. It runs subagents and asks the subagents, is there any ambiguity? Is this plan cohesive? Does it agree with itself? Is there anything missing in order to implement the changes we're looking for? Things like that. And it will bounce back and forth between making the plan, asking for validation, getting feedback, changing it, asking for validation again. And it will go on a few times until it sort of resolves all of the things that are different between them. Okay, it's off to the races. This is my first time using Minimax for something big. Should be interesting to see what happens. Single epic with 6 stories. Yep, I would agree. In that planning guidance, another thing that I put in there is don't ask me dumb questions. Like, if you can figure it out yourself, like do as much research as you can to figure it out for yourself. If also understand what the user needs, like what is really what are you being asked to do, not literally, but on a broader, like on an outside view, why are you doing this? What does the user actually need out of this? And make a decision for what choices to make based on that. And then in the end, if there's still ambiguity and you still need more guidance, then ask me. And that gets pretty good results. Between that, it will figure out some reasonable choices. It'll work with the subagents to get the validation running, and the subagents will actually push back and say, maybe this is not the right approach on this part. Have you considered this? And they'll go back and forth. And by the time they're done and I look at the final output, it's almost always good, like good to go. I rarely need to make any changes after that. So I've been honing this for in this current form for about a month now, and in the past I've used similar but somewhat different ways of getting good plans out of it. But this has been the most hands-off version that I've come up with, and it has worked out pretty well so far. Oh, it already did a validation. Um, oh no, it didn't. This is validation loop. Oh, okay. It's making the document for sort of tracking its progress through the val, and it's just saying it hasn't run any validation stuff yet. It's going to put the answers back in this section of the document. Oh no, I was even wrong about that. This is creating the epic and story documents, and the orchestration framework does a similar thing in that it's going to do work, then use subagents to validate. So when it's creating these uh, epic story documents, it's adding sections to that for the agents that are going to be using them to fill in the details from their own validation. Oh yeah, I've lost the YouTube chat. Where did that go? Here. Okay. How do I tell if there are viewers right now? Do do do. Not here. Not here. Oh, live viewers one. That would be me. Ah, now it's validating the plan. So it's using the subagent, and here's the subagent. It's reading a bunch of files, doing its own research. Now, usually when I work, here's when I would go off and work on some other project, and I might do streams in the future where I do that. But this is my first sort of live stream, and I don't want to get uh, confused. So streaming, I'm dealing with the streaming software OBS, and sort of managing the. I have a virtual screen that OBS is actually broadcasting, and I'm interacting with the virtual screen in the OBS preview. And it's slightly confusing to move the cursor back and forth between the virtual screen and my own screen, and managing the sort of YouTube chats and things outside of the screen. So yeah, I'm not bouncing back and forth between projects at this point because that would be just a bit too chaotic. For now, I'm just figuring out how to do these YouTube streams. While that's running, because there's basically nothing happening now, it's doing research. I can show you the um, little animation I made. I also used an LLM to make this with Remotion Studio. That was released maybe a couple weeks ago or so. There were a lot of YouTubers who sort of showed off what it can do, and it was pretty cool. It creates an animation using React, and because it's React, the LLM is reasonably good at writing code for it, so it can produce animations. So the first, well, let me show it to you, and then I'll talk a little bit about how I wrote it. So that's it. Um, and yeah, every time I switch between scenes and OBS, it plays that as a stinger. So hey, validation completed, and it found 5 blocking issues. So now it's going to fix them in the document. This is why I have the validation, because it finds obvious things. It's really irritating when the LLM produces work and I start looking at it and there's just really obvious stuff. So, which is why I do this validation process in the first place. Just don't waste my time. You use another LLM to figure out the stupid stuff before you even bother showing me. Anyway, so that animation was created using Remotion and Claude, probably. I don't know. I switch between models a lot. I switch between the harnesses a lot. So it might have been Claude or ChatGPT. Oh, it was definitely Claude because of it's slightly better at web design and visual design. So I almost certainly used Claude, and when I use Claude, I pretty much always use Claude Code because recently, maybe a month ago, they blocked all third-party use of Claude via subscriptions. You can only use it by the API keys, which is way more expensive. So now if I use Claude, it's only in Claude Code. I was really irritated by that because one of the big things, like the reason I'm making this Context Bonsai feature is for me to actually use it while I'm doing work. And if I can't use OpenCode to do my work, then this Context Bonsai feature is less valuable. So I'm probably going to be using Claude quite a bit less. Switch over to having ChatGPT be my main one. Although I'm having fun with these free models. I use them as much as I can to see how, I guess, how much worse or how they compare to the closed models. Anyway, so yeah, I used Claude and Remotion Studio and Claude Code as the harness to get that done. First, I asked it to create recording software so that it would record the audio of my typing as well as the timing of the keys that I typed them in. And then it would be able to use that timing while it played the audio to make the animation go along with the typing as it happened. So it did that. I told it the style I wanted was this virtual terminal thing, so it did that. And I also told it that the last keystroke, even though I'm typing period, I actually want that to be the little heart, and it did that. So that was pretty simple. And then I also asked it how to make it a stinger in OBS, and it explained how to do that, and I was able to do it so that when I switch between things in OBS, then it automatically plays that as the sort of transition. Okay. I do not believe that it's actually done. Oh, right. Cursor over here. There we go. Second validation. All blocking issues are fixed. Oh, okay, so I guess the second validation didn't come up with anything new. I guess it is done. Okay, so now I'm going to skim through these. Whoops. What have I done? Did I just kill? Wait. Close. That's not, I can just get rid of that now. Close that. Close that. Close that. Ooh, okay. And yes, I can close that. Okay. Whatever I did, I closed it instead of launching a new tab. Okay. Oh yeah, this user gamut, user needs gamut. That is something that's described in my planning guidance document. One of the reasons it works well is because of these concepts that are in there. So a gamut is like a spectrum, but think of it in more directions than just one variable. Like a spectrum, you think of usually wavelengths from red to ultraviolet, or infrared to ultraviolet, violet, or even like radio signals or whatever. A spectrum is just like a frequency. You vary the frequency, and there's one variable that you change, just the frequency of the wavelength, and that changes the color. A gamut is, it can be multidimensional. So there are very many users of software or output of some kind in general, and those users are different in all sorts of different ways. So you can think of it as a user gamut. Like the user might have a particular occupation. They might be working at a particular type of company. They might be doing particular types of jobs. And all of these are different dimensions. And if you think about what spaces within a gamut are the most likely to places where you would find users. Then you can find like localized regions of, there's a bunch of users like this, and there's a bunch of users like that. And then beyond that, once you identify who the likely users are, then you can think about their needs. And in the same way that there's a gamut of users, there's gamuts of needs. And these likely users usually have like overlapping needs. So you have these likely regions of needs that lots of users will need. So that's how the planning guidance sort of takes a step back to think about what the problem it's solving is. And it fills out a little bit of information here in the plan, and that way this plan, it's read by the developers, the LLM developers that are implementing it, and it's also read by the reviewer and by the judge. That's the validation happens sort of in a three LLM thing instead of what we just saw. What we just saw was like a primary plan writing LLM and a validation LLM, and they bounce back and forth. But in the other one, it's a three-way thing that I might talk about later. So that's what this user gamut and user needs gamut are. So users, plugin developers building context management, summarization, or annotation features. That is a valid user of these open code changes that I'm doing. It's about plugin authors in general, not just about this one guy who's making the Context Bonsai plugin. And open code power users who rely on plugins. Yep, also a valid user. I like that. User needs, plugins need to persist custom data alongside messages, the metadata bag. Yes. So this Context Bonsai feature, it produces, so let's see. So it compacts messages. What that really means is in the storage of the session is just the collection of messages that happened between the user and the LLM, like everything that happened, that big context that's being built up, it's a session. It saves it as a session file. And within the session file, there are messages. And when this tool compacts a message, it just sets a flag on it that says this is archived, and it has another field that says it's archived by, and archived by references the message ID of the first message in a range. So when you archive a bunch of messages, if it's a range, then there's the first message and then lots of following messages. So the first message will be set archived equals true. Actually, all of the messages set archived equals true, and then all of the messages after the first one say archived by, and it references that first message. That way, when it comes time to retrieve it, when you retrieve a particular message ID, you look for all of the messages that were archived by that message ID and you recover those as well. So this metadata needs to be added as like a core feature in OpenCode. It's not really, you can't just add it as a plugin. It needs to be baked into OpenCode. So yes, it needs to persist custom data alongside messages. Plugins need access to the LLM for summarization. That should be obvious why that happens. Plugins need atomic message updates for state persistence. This is not strictly necessary, but you open yourself up to potential bugs if you don't do this. So when you archive a range of messages, you either want that full range archived or not archived. You don't want a weird situation where there's like half of the messages are archived and the other half are not yet, even though you told it to archive all of those messages. So that's why it wants atomicity. Explicit access to conversation messages. Yes. So that's just that the plugin needs to be able to access the messages. Like it needs to, for instance, the retrieve tool, you're telling it to retrieve a particular message ID. It has to be able to get the messages and look up the IDs and find the message ID you're talking about and look at its metadata and the metadata of all the other messages to be able to actually retrieve the messages. That retrieve one actually unsets, no, it doesn't unset the archived message. Oh, well, I did this differently in OpenCode and in Claude Code. Actually, also modified Claude Code itself to do the same thing, and I did it slightly different in both of them. So I don't remember if I brought the difference that I did in Claude Code. I don't remember if I brought it back into OpenCode. But anyway, it does need explicit access to those conversation messages. Plugins need a framework provided identity for namespacing. That's not strictly necessary, but what this means is the plugin itself is providing a tool. The tool, what I'm talking about is when the LLM does things like read from the file system or execute a shell command. The way it does that is through tools that the LLM harness is providing. And this Context Bonsai thing added two new tools, the compact tool and the retrieve tool. So the idea behind this last item, plugins need a framework for identity, framework provided identity for namespacing, is that so that if there are multiple plugins that are all adding tools, they don't clobber each other. And I think also it uses that for the metadata so that your own plugin's metadata is inside of like one particular field in the general metadata bag. It calls it on here, the metadata bag. So within the metadata bag, you have like your own plugin ID is there, and within that namespace of your plugin ID are your own metadata fields. No ambiguities from the user model. All changes are additive with a clear benefit. Add metadata, add the language model, add update message, formalize messages, add plugin ID, enrich the transform hook input. Yeah, all that's good. Let's see, it's behind. There we go. Ooh, okay. I don't know. What did I do? Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's easy to. Oops. Yeah, okay. All right, I like this so far, and I trust the other stories are going to be correct. But before I go, I'm going to use Claude to also validate it. Okay. That's the while that's going, I can have ChatGPT do the same thing. Okay, Claude is doing its stuff. Great. Now the other. Okay. Now, I usually do bounce things back and forth between a couple of models, but here it's particularly important because I've not used Minimax for significant projects before. So I do want to make sure that we're pretty covered I trust Claude with that part, and Codex should be pretty decent as well. Cool. Story 3 is internally consistent and diverges from the upstream proposal on core mechanics. Story 3 risks duplicate update events. Yeah, I didn't actually read Story 3. Oh man, I'm still getting used to this. Nope, that's not what I want. Where's the this? Oh, are they not? Oh, that's why. Hmm. Here's Claude's. Add metadata message valid. Minor validation command section says that, but the build script says it's that. That's going to be fine. Add language model valid with note. That's a good note. Okay. Missing read a step. All right. Message v2.info, the full message object. The plan never specifies how to obtain the current message before calling function draft. An implementer following the story literally has no path to fetch the message to modify. The plan needs to include a read step. And that would be the that ChatGPT found. Update message wrap storage.write, but actual implementation is db upsert plus event publish. Story 3 risks duplicate event update events. Yep, this cut that too. Double event publish. Story 4 formalize messages on context. It did not find a story 4 thing. There's a story 5 thing. Add plugin ID, valid direction, and complete spec. Sound implementation has a slight gap. Okay, so I think I'm going to have ChatGPT be the one that fixes up the plan, and I'll validate it in OpenCode. I mean, in Claude code after that. Um, so I'm having ChatGPT read the planning guidance documents, the same one that I had Minimax read before, and it will apply that planning guidance, specifically analysis first, evidence-backed challenge review, escalate only true ambiguity, user model as mandatory. Okay, great. Continue refining the implementation plan using that. And what was the story for thing? Wait a second. Oh, messing up my screens again. Okay. Story 4. Oh, it also didn't find anything in story 4. Okay. Um, um, I want to know how to make this thing not ask me over and over again. Security, dangerously bypass approvals, and sandbox. Sandbox mode, approval policy. Oh, full auto. Read files, make edits, run command in the working directory automatically. That sounds good. And also just codex resume. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Oh man. Okay. Serves here. All right. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's resume. That's not what I want. I want oh, dash yellow. Okay. Now it looks like it's working. Okay. There was something. Oh, where's my cursor? There. There's something I was going to go over here. Something happened that I said I would come back to. I don't remember. Oh, right. So this planning guidance has the 2 LLM validation thing. The development process has sort of a 3-way validation. Okay, codex finished. Let's if you made changes after the previous validation, you should do another iteration. Okay. Okay, guy. You gotta use subagents. Does Codex not do subagents? Um, oops. Stop. Okay, fine. I'll just do. Oops. That's not what I want either. What I'm looking for right now is the way to um, use Claude or Codex non-interactively. Just send it a prompt, get a result back. I used to do this all the time. I built a whole orchestration system out of it, but ever since subagents became supported features on these tools, I don't have to do it. I use Codex pretty differently. I don't typically launch subagents, so maybe it can do it and I just don't know the right words to tell it, or maybe it just can't and I need to fall back to this old method. Okay, let me just... Output format, right, okay. I remember that. And I think I don't need the dash P thing. I think I can just do this. Hmm. Okay, I guess I do. All right. um, file and do log dash p cat dash dash. What was the thing? Output format. Yeah. Did I say dash p? Yes, I said dash p. Okay, that looks like it's working. Was it 5 days ago? Ha. Oh yeah, this guy also had to do something similar. And this was when? 4 days ago? Huh. Okay. I'm amazed that it doesn't have subagent support yet, especially since it's open source. I imagine a bunch of people would have submitted pull requests for implementing this. Did you just redo it? Do not assume it's hung. Process takes so long. Okay. I think I'll end this stream here and start the next stream after we have a validated plan between all of these, and then I re-review the output that these guys have made. All right, stop streaming.